Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning. We're going to have a great show. We have beautiful flowers.
That's Pam Peters, the chairwoman of judging at the annual spring show of the San Diego Orchid Society.
Remember that each plant belongs to someone.
She spoke to a few dozen flower judges at the Scottish Rite Center in Mission Valley, where the show was about to begin.
It has as many flowers open as this one does.
For 70 years, the Orchid Society has been a gathering of people who love the flowers and love telling stories about them.
I got my first orchid as an adult when I went to find a bouquet for my girlfriend for Valentine's Day.
That's Ron Kaufman, chairman of the Orchid Society's Conservation Committee and, like Peters, a life member.
4, 5, 6, 7 spikes.
There are about 30,000 species of orchids in the wild. Add to that the 100,000 hybrids created by orchid fanciers, and you'll realize the riot of colors and fragrances at the Orchid Society show is just a small sample.
So I did a talk about searching for orchids in Antarctica.
Kaufman, an oceanography professor at the University of San Diego, says evolution has made the orchid an astonishing plant.
The infinite variety is just because they're designed to attract an infinite variety of pollinators. The pollen in orchids doesn't get blown from place to place by the wind. It has to be carried by pollinators. And all of that variety is designed to attract different kinds of pollinators to the flowers to accomplish pollination. And that variety also tends to attract people who have an interest in this wide variety.
That one's been blooming longer.
One of those orchid people is a postdoc in neurology at UCSD. His name is Kevin Reinierson, who learned to grow orchids from his grandfather.
So when I was a kid, after my grandmother passed away, we went up to help my grandfather clean out his house, and I went into this back area, which I was never allowed to go as a little kid. And it was actually a greenhouse or a lath house that he had up in the Bay Area that was full of Cymbidium orchids.
Another Orchid Society member lives in a big house on a quiet lane on Point Loma. Betty Calipez has spent her career in law enforcement.
My background was one of a lot of stress, and so orchid growing to me was a place to go and become calm. The joy in growing an orchid is to me the perfect joy.
And here's one that brings her that kind of joy.
Remember I was talking about that orchid from Peru that I fell in love with?
Yes.
That made me a real orchid grower after that? Well, this is it. It's called Masdevallia veitchiana, and it grows in Machu Picchu.
She says that bright orange flower was given a name by local Indians that refers to the story of a princess.
And she lost her lover, and this is the tears of,
that's the tears of the princess.
Yes, the tears of the princess,
All right.
Wankanki.
The fact that an orchid can grow at 8,000 feet in the Peruvian Andes is a pretty good indication that they can grow just about anywhere.
So here we are. And this is my lovely greenhouse where I spend a lot of time.
Rancho Santa Fe is where Orchid Society member Debbie Halliday lives.
The roots are also used like ropes to tie the plants to the tree.
Halliday and her husband spent their lives in business, at one point selling cactus and succulent plants to supermarkets. But she says ever since she was newly married and living in Brooklyn, she's only done orchids for love, not for money.
My husband was very interested in orchids. He had spent some time in the Caribbean. He had always been a man who loved jungles. We had the bottom 2 floors of a brownstone, and we built a little lean-to greenhouse over our bedroom windows.
For orchid people, the flowers are a bank of memories and emotions, maybe especially for Halliday,
And I won Best Colored Cattleya.
who has named her variety of a hybrid plant after her late husband, Donald Halliday.
My husband got ill and wasn't able to stay around and enjoy it, but for me it's a great reason to get up in the morning.
It's the perfect joy. Tom Fudge, KPBS News.